Hello everyone and welcome to another video. Those who've just seen I put up another video only a minute ago, or a few minutes ago, whatever. Because I've been so absent on videos lately, I thought, well, while I've got the house to myself, I'm going to make up for it and put a couple out there just to cover some of the things that people have requested that I do. So that's what this is today. That's why I'm putting up a couple of videos. So I just had a quick hover over the consoles I'm using on this ship. Now, as a disclaimer, this is a air quote budget build. It's not really. It's, I don't know, sort of middle of the road. It's not completely finished, but it does have a couple of lobby items in here, which I guess you can't really include if it's a budget build. And it does involve a sea store ship, yeah, whatever, man. It is what it is. It's a low-cost build, put it that way. So, what I'm using on this is, it's a phase build, which, to be fair, you should have seen by now. And that means I'm running the 3-piece quantum phase set. Again, partial budget build. I mostly have this for, well, the power levels are kind of nice from the 3-piece set, but it's more the case of it's a pretty good console and it synergizes well with what we want to do. So this has phaser damage on it, which is, you know, it's lovely. And it also has a bit of drain expertise, which we're going to need because of this torpedo here. The general objective of this torpedo is to strip as much shields as it can, and that's kind of the only real reason that we want it. So we're going to be using the spread to make sure that we can strip some shields off the enemy. They're the only quest items I've got on here. There are other things that you can have as well. You can run the trilithium enhanced omnidirectional, and if you really can't afford lobby consoles, you could run the, if I can find it, here we go, reinforced armament. So this all comes from the same quest, which is, I can't remember what it is, you look it up. But it makes a 2-piece set with a trilithium laced omnidirectional, which gives you extra fire and cycle haste and a bit more flight speed, which is okay. You know, that would be an acceptable replacement if you really can't afford it. That wouldn't be too bad. There's other stuff you could put in its place, but and if you bought the 3-pack of these ships, so regardless of what faction you are, whether it's Klingon, Federation or Romulan, they have faction respective variants. But whichever one it is, they all come with the same thing, pretty much the same stats, skills, whatever, and you could maybe run this, which is a gateway. It's kind of cool. It's like having a super-powered Gravwell, but I'm not a big fan, personally, because I run Oxtabat, so it's kind of awkward to actually fire the thing. But anyway, so I've got the neurophasic disruption field and wing torpedo platforms, which come from these particular ships, and I've also got the Domino. Now, the Domino just so happens to be part of the set with these ships, which is interesting. And the 3-piece set reduces the cooldown to a minute, which is insane because the Domino console is ridiculously powerful. 25% bonus all, massive recharge speed, massive recharge for your torpedoes, massive fire and cycle haste, and if you carry on killing enemies, you can extend the duration up to 30 seconds. So this is potentially going to have anywhere up to a 50% uptime, which is just silly. Now, for the purpose of this showcase, I'm doing it on my engineer. So, whereas other builds, you've got the joy of being able to rely on go down fighting, tactical fleet, and attack pattern alpha, you don't have that on an engineer. You do have an Aeon inversion, which is kind of cool, and EPS power transfer, which is kind of nice, but they're kind of the only things that you really get for damage as a engineering captain. Your fleet doesn't really do that much. It's okay for survivability if a team's starting to struggle, but obviously it doesn't give you any damage. I do still have focus frenzy, so that's a thing, but mostly I find that only really effective against you know, big targets. Domino is going to be one of your main sources of damage here. I've got the torpedo platform, so they're kind of cool. They do a little bit, but not a super amount. The 3-piece set from the quantum phase is okay. It applies a nice little damage over time, effectively, which is kind of cool, but again, only really on big targets will you notice that even do anything, because everything else is going to die pretty quickly. So, just to quickly go over the equipment here. We've got the Bajor Defense Covariant Shield, which doesn't look right. I re-engineered this the other day to have double lots of Resol. Maybe they've patched that, but whatever. So 2-piece Bajoran set, which is quite nice, because the 2-set bonus, if you're using Phaser, Disruptor or Plasma, gives you that little bit of extra bonus damage. I'm not using rep sets because it's a quote-unquote budget kind of build, and rep sets are expensive and you're more expensive to upgrade. But it's quite nice, and you can get this really early on in your game time. So if you've not got your reps done, which I haven't on this character, then you can get access to this set really easily. I am using the Colony Deflector, which I guess for some people might be difficult if they've not earned up to access rank or whatever in their respective fleet, or the fleet doesn't have access to it, but it's the best deflector if you want damage, so do it, kind of thing. I've got Voice of the Prophets because this thing is just godly, and Elite Fleet Warp Core. So that's the consoles. I've got the Tachyon and the Binaural. Like I say, you can swap them out if you can't afford them, don't have them, whatever. Put something else in there that's got to fit in with the set. You could go for some heals if you manage to partake in the giveaway, where they were giving away the Lucari ship. That console would be great. It's a nice survivability console. There's loads of things that you could put in there, and like I said before, the reinforced armaments would be okay because it gives you power transfer rate, and it creates a 2-piece set if you use the trilithium laced omnidirectional beam, which is also phaser. The prolonged engagement phaser comes from Weekend Event, which come around periodically, so that shouldn't be too difficult to get hold of. Now then, for stations, this is the part where some who've been playing the game for a long time are going to be like, what the hell are you doing? So, in the interest of having a bit of fun, I spiced it up a tiny bit, and I'm running Flyer Apart 3. Now, the reason I'm running this is because it gives you a huge Cat 2, it's bonus all damage after this effect ends. So you got 15 seconds of the misery, to be fair, because it's going to grind away at your hull and deal with significant damage to you, and then after that you've got 45% Cat 2 damage bonus. We're not a tactical, so we've got to make up for the damage somewhere else, so we don't need to worry too terribly about the fact that it's hurting us. We can deal with that because we're an engineer. Science, honestly, you'll also be able to do this because you have more damage resistance and that kind of thing than tacticals do, so this could also be an option for that. Well, Spread 3, mostly had to prioritize this because of the Quantum Phase Torpedo. I did experiment with Beta 2 as opposed to Spread 3, honestly, believe it or not, Spread 3 seemed to work much more efficiently, so whatever, that's what I'm running. Fire at Will 3, just know the rule by now. If you're going to use Fire at Will, you've got to use the highest variant that you can. Chemosax, it's PvE, Tac Team, Eng Team. I don't have any science on this ship, which is a bit of a problem, and against some races like the Borg and the Undine, it does become a minor problem, but again, engineer, so who gives a damn. Distributed targeting. I've got this in there because it's kind of nice, honestly. If you're hitting a big-ish ship, something that's going to survive more than a couple of your hits or your elites or whatever, the spread AoE effect that this applies, and you can have this with Fire at Will on as well, so you can get this happening a lot of the time, or rather when it does happen you can get it applying, quite a lot. It's a fun extra little skill, tiny bit more damage. It's pretty cool. I've got emergency powder shields, energy team, and emergency powder weapons because I have the space there. You could run EPT engines, but me don't like it, so I have the shields instead. It's Oxtabat, and I'm going to show you how that's capable on a budget build in a second. Reverse shield polarity 2 for a bit of survivability because this is a very squishy ship. It does not have mastery for any resistance or anything like that, so you've got to have some extra kind of survivability on it. This is also the ship that gives you promise of ferocity. So, moving on to traits, I've got just cheap traits that I was able to pick up on the exchange, again under budget. Self-modulating fire, beam training, operative, inspirational leader. This is an engineering only, as is this. They're just nice for survivability and whatnot. Biotech patch, I like this on all builds. Pair crews, again, same thing. Ablative shell, again, same thing. Space rep, I haven't even got it done, so these are the only options I really have. Shield pen, both crit, obviously, that's a must-have. And then I've got advanced hull reinforcement because, again, frankly, I don't have anything better at the moment. So, emergency weapon cycle. I know, again, C-store ships, but whatever. If you don't have it, swap it out for something else that you do have. On a dead is really cheap on the exchange at the moment. You could use that, but save up, get emergency weapon cycle. Redirecting arrays. This comes from the Tucker Miracle Worker ship, but you can use something else. That's not an issue. I don't have a lot on this particular character because I can't bother to do the masters. Cold Hearted because I'm using Oxtabat, and Promise of Frosty is awesome. So how can you run Oxtabat on a budget kind of build? Well, you could make do with 3 blue technicians and the domino console, and I've got cheap variants of the crit, chance, and severity duty officer. But my blue Oxtabat DOFs and the domino console mean I don't ever have to worry about cooldown. Everything's at global cooldown all the time, which is pretty nice. I'm gonna be honest. It's great for a budget build. It performs extremely well. Captain skills, it's the same all I kind of have going at the minute. 26, 10, 10. Pick what suits you and what you want to do with your ship, but I would recommend Frenzy, most especially for bosses and elites. So going 26 down the tactical tree would be a great plan, and then so long as you've got your improved and advanced targeting sensors, then your damage will be fine. I would always recommend both points into control expertise and drain for the resistances. This ship is running phases, so you need drain expertise anyway, but I would always recommend these because it'll help you resist against drains and controls applied to you. And then, like I say, everything's personal preference. And yeah, so now that I've pressed all the wrong options that I wasn't looking to do, change this over to Elite and go ahead and have a little play in the Gamma Aerodon system, mostly because I'm on console. This is the quickest way that I can get in and fight some enemies to show you what this ship can do. Marvelous loading screen here that I can't cut out because I don't have access to a computer at the moment. Sorry about this, guys. Here we go, Gamma Aerodon system. Oh, that was a marvelous random green explosion for no reason whatsoever. That's excellent. Right then, so there's a little budget build. Can it do elite PvEs? As you can see, I'm not really struggling particularly. I'm kind of burned myself a lot with the flyer apart. The only downside is with it making you so much faster than you normally are, it kind of hits your turn rate quite a lot, not necessarily because it's reducing your turn rate massively, but because you're going so much faster, it's really hard to orbit your enemies. Nice thing about the wing torpedo platforms is if you use spread, they get spread too, which is kind of cool. Well, they get to spread too, as in TOO, not they get a spread too. Took a little bit damage there, knocked me down below 50%, but the joy of being an engineer. Straight back up again. I'm hoping I can get some nice crits with the voice of the prophets. Show you what it can do. There we go, there's an 82k. It's not too bad. Again, especially considering this is an engineer. I'll tell you, this weapon is amazing. It's debatably the strongest of the experimental weapons that you can get, but weapons like the railgun and the ion stream still have their place. The ion stream for certain nonsense effects that you can get running in PvP with some of the Lucari stuff and whatnot. If you're hidden with electrical damage, it can make that proc. Plus it's AoE target, same as Voice of the Prophets, so if you don't have this ship, that would be a good option for PvE. And then PvP, the Cation and their respective faction variants. The railgun that you get off that is pretty effective too, because it's got quite a nice little bit of shield penetration and does kinetic damage. So yeah, as you can see, even though this is not a maxed out build, so long as you're running the right kind of things, good combinations with each other, doesn't have to be fully maxed, spend a crap load of money on the game, whatever. Everything that I've got on this ship, alright, it'll probably take you 2 or 3 months, but so long as you make sure to do the events, get the special items, you could get all of this for free without too much trouble, just time. So yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this video. I know it's not necessarily what I've done too much in the past. I've only done one other budget build, and that was for cannons on the Phantom. But, hopefully it's helped at least one person out, and see you in the next one.